I think going through this process, asking yourself, am I picking up equity at this point? And assessing your risk along the way is a really valuable skill. To me, that's one of the more important ones because there are people that bring us deals sometimes. They say, what do you think about this deal? I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. And they say, but it's such a good deal. Here's why. And I'm like, whoa, we see it completely differently. So I'm usually looking for, so in that vein, there are problems which exist that are the reason.
Hello, welcome to today's podcast. Today we have a special guest, one we've spoken to before. We have a lot of connections and correlations over the last couple of years, and we're finding out new ones every day, apparently. But today we have a special guest, Mr. Logan Fulmer. For people that don't know you, can you give people a 30-second synopsis, and then we'll jump right into it? People that have met you or have gotten your book before.
Yeah, Daniel, thanks for that. Grew up in Central Texas, kid trying to find his way like everybody else and go to college like I was told to do. And that was hard. Had to grapple with all the things that most people do growing up with about the goods and the bads and trying to get in line and wound up in the oil field, which was a meaningful time in my life. And then it was time to do something more, something of my own. I came to fork in the road, and that became real estate. So this has been a 10 or maybe 12-year journey now of building a business, first learning how to do deals, then building a business, and then starting to choose what deals I'm really going to do in this operation, like at scale with sophistication, and build an operation with accounting, finance, legal, all these pieces that made it like a meaningful thing. So today I've got an office of 25 people. I've got a couple different legs. Distressed property acquisition is where the bread and butter, 70% of what everything happens here comes from that. I've got a commercial portfolio that's got industrial and office in it. And then I do land development, the small lot, tight lot subdivision that goes to the national builders. That's the kind of the three things that happen here.
Don't forget the book.
And the book. That's something else.
It's a whole nother thing, new thing just added. One thing I like about the book is you got it out there. We were speaking about this before. We were talking about this, and a lot of people they want perfection when they release, and I think the main thing is just getting it out there.
One of my business partners is CPA, and he wants things perfect. And it's interesting how I helped grow the business far more than he ever would have. And for me, I got to get it done. And to me, done is better than perfect. Yes, I leave risk on the table sometimes. Yes, I have errors out there. Yes, I forgot about things. But my way has worked better than most people's way.
When you mess up, you learn how to retroactively fix things, good and bad way, and you kind of take your L's in the chin. But you at least know how to solve that problem after the fact.
What I can say is I've moved fast, very fast. That's kind of something that I do, but I've not made like detrimental L's. They've been all like stupid things, irritating things, dumb things. But when you look at them in totality, you say it's no different than Walmart having a shrink budget of whatever it is, some percent every year or less than 1% every year. They have a shrink budget. I have a Logan effed up budget, and it's okay. It's never been a meaningful part of our annual budget, and it's never been remarkably handicapping. So I've accepted that my teachers were not right. It doesn't have to be perfect.
The main thing about this too is I think you have to have a not just a Logan effed up budget. You have to have an employee effed up budget too, because you have to clean up mistakes too. And a lot of times, as business owners, you don't want to take on that responsibility, or you don't want to. It's a lot of people they're like, oh, I'm going to fire this person because X, Y, Z. But I'm like, are they really doing a good job? Did you not train them effectively? Did you manage them properly? And are you okay with them fucking up?
I've gone back over the last couple of years and really looked at what our core values are. And one of them we decided is aptitude, and it's IQ basically. And it's very hard to determine a person's IQ without giving them an IQ score test. But I got really irritated right when I got out of college because everybody's looking for high GPAs, not a low GPA. You can tell by the things I've said earlier. I move fast, I'm not perfect, all those things, but I run towards revenue faster than most people. And I didn't score well on GPA. So I had a hard time getting the right jobs that my friends were getting right out of college. And I resented that. I would think things like, well, you don't need to have a high GPA to be successful, blah, blah, blah. And that was me venting. It's interesting today as an employer, and right now we're in a phase of rapid expansion. We're hiring. I have found that early on I looked for experience. Today I don't. We have such a unique business in all areas that I don't want people with experience. I'm looking for attitude, aptitude, ambition, and authority. One of the aptitude part is IQ. I would rather take a person fresh out of college who doesn't know anything, but they're really bright and really hardworking. I'll take that, dude. Yes, they're going to make mistakes, but bright people perform better.
Mm. They bright people, they're unique in their own way, and they make great employees. You as like a this is like the CEO conundrum. It's like who do you hire and how do you manage them and what are you looking for? Because we are not CEO leaders aren't employee type personalities, so it's very hard to like reflect and find that perfect gray area and balance that because we're not the people we hire.
You're right. And I also think a lot of smaller mid-sized companies handicap themselves because the guy who was doing all the work now became a manager or owner of sorts, and they want to continue doing that, and they'll hire a lot of people to help them grow. But I think a big struggle they have is hiring mid-level and high-level management. Most business owners aren't willing to pay someone $250,000 to be a high-level manager. They say, well, I'll just do it. Well, then you're going to be your high-level manager forever. And I think a lot of businesses, this is something that I've worked on for the last 6 months to overcome, is filling in that piece of the business. So it's not my job. It's not my responsibility to do those things. Those people that I've hired and paid that, you fiddle with that stuff. So it allows me to do more of like the where are we going, how are we going to get there, instead of fixing the employee's F up. It's a tiered system. And if I can be at the right place in the tier, I'm more effective doing what I'm supposed to do, I guess.
Yeah. How have you been sourcing your team in general? Is just like social media, because this is one of the things, the benefits of like having a social media following is you can kind of put a call to action out there and people will come in and you kind of filter from there.
That's been one way. We use Indeed to hire a lot. A friend of mine who's got a remarkable business, and he just sold it actually for significant dollars. He doesn't do it that way. He poaches. And I've started to look at that more and more lately and say, okay, you're going to pay up because you're going to pay them more than they got at the other place. And you're
Yeah.
looking for someone who's performing well at another place. So you'll pay a premium to poach. But most of those kind of people aren't out on the job market. Like when I was out in the oil field working as a mid-level manager, I was never out looking for a job. People would try to poach us. And now I look back at it and understand why.
I think poaching has its place in business. I mean, you have you heard anything about like Meta poaching all the other AI? And it's one of those things where like if you pay them enough dollars and they're good at what they do, they'll come over and help you do what you need to do. And as much as you don't want to lose good people, it's crazy to kind of see it happen in the what is it 9-10 figure range.
Those are probably the highest salaries actually in the history of the history, I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
I read
But
someone was offered $100 million.
$100
One
million.
was offered $1 billion or something, some crazy number.
Yeah,
Maybe that's a total comp package, but still.
it's you can't even deny that with shares and all the other bonuses that come with it. You can't even look at it as that not being valuable.
Yeah. God. Imagine the kind of talent you can get if you're one of the top 10 richest people in the world. Zuckerberg can pay you more than anybody, and he has the authority to do it. Wow. I'm in a spot now where I'm nowhere near Zuckerberg, but I'm looking at margins and looking at profit and saying, okay, there's this one of the particular companies that I run that does education, online coaching, online education, a lot of stuff like that. And it runs at a really good margin, and ask myself, like, how much of that margin am I willing to invest into the next round of people and the next round of growth. And it's significant dollars. I mean, and I ask myself, okay, it's running good now. Do I just keep this 7-figure net profit annually going? Or do I say, let me pull out half of that and invest in a lot more people? A, I'm taking a lot of profit from this year to invest. B, next year, that means my margin is shrunk because I've got to take that same amount of money again. So it's not this money, it's also next year's money. But do I think those people that I bring in are going to expand the revenue so much that they're going to pay for that and more? Like, those are big decisions as a business owner.
I think a lot of people, there's like, you have like the entrepreneurs that want to be successful. Us as business owners have to get amplification. Have to. There has to be an amplification of value, or
Yeah.
else it doesn't work. Doesn't work. If you want to make 200 grand a year, you better be outputting 700, $800, $1 million a year. Have to be, and that's just how it works.
So right now I ask myself, what roles do I need so that I can stop doing certain things in this business? And then do those roles grow revenue? Because I focus a lot of times on the revenue and get that going and then fix all the other things behind it because now we have money in our pocket. Now we know how it works. So that's now the next question I'm asking myself. Do those roles drive revenue? And do they drive 2 or 3 or 4 times what I pay? We're about to find out. I've been gone. So this is my first day back in the office after like 10 days. First time I've taken this long vacation forever. And I've had a lot of time to think. My computer wouldn't work out there, which was good. But I've really questioned a lot of investment decisions in this business over the last 2 weeks. And I'm leaning more towards, what am I going to do with that money? Sit in my bank account? I'm not going to buy a plane or more cars. Like, I'm not doing that. What's the utility of this money? It's to work.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning towards making the investment, take the dive. Let's find the next level if we can.
If we can.
Sometimes you make that bet. And you bet on red and it's black. That happens sometimes. Am I maxed out at my skill set? Is the market no longer willing to accept any more of what I got to offer? I don't know, man. These are big questions, and might be willing to spend $1 million on them in the next 2 months to find out.
I think there's a lot of like not preservation, but like self indulging to succeed, because you have to risk that money. You have to put up or shut up. You either want to stay where you're at or you want to succeed and grow.
And I'm not betting that money on Elon Musk in Tesla stock. I'm betting it on me. So it's my capital, and I'm betting it on me.
Yeah.
That must mean I got to really believe that it's going to work if I'm going to do that. Sometimes I would rather bet on Elon Musk. That guy's brilliant.
But sometimes you're really bad on you because like you have a good track record the last couple of years. So you're like, hey, I'm I'm doing okay, at least the last couple of years.
Right. I do think our multiple by betting on us would be bigger than betting on Elon, because we'll be betting on him by buying his stock. And is it going to go up 50%, 100%? That's your multiple. But betting on us, just like you said a minute ago, is that person going to make me 200, 300, 400%? I got a bigger multiple if I bet on me and it works.
That's different. That's different.
Yeah.
You can get better amplification direct to building.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Direct to building. So I had an epiphany back in Austin. So you do a couple events a year about distressed title. I've known you for probably 4 years now. And I knew what you did and I knew how you did, but I didn't understand the mindset till I went to your event in Austin. And there was a turning point in my mindset of, I always had the back end, because I'm doing real estate for a few years now. And I always had that mindset question of like, why buy title, or why buy deeds outside of title? And it always felt like risky to me. And I couldn't like understand, I couldn't get like my mind past that. And I know the epiphany I had, but can you explain for other people that may be stuck in that same position? Because I kind of follow up with what you say, but I want to hear what your thought on that is.
On the risk or why you buy buy outside of title?
Yes.
So the purpose is because the property, so you want to get a bigger return than others. You want to get as big of a return as you can. And when house flipping and wholesaling and land subdividing and all that can be under pressure when markets change or any number of things, personal markets, whatever, business model questions, when they're all under fire, how do you get the biggest return? Well, I found the deals that I did many years ago during this certain year. I did several deals, like a lot of wholesalers and house flippers or sole sourcing stuff. Lots of owners, lots of problems, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to get it done. And I got it done. And some of those are the biggest margins. But the difference in that event is I traded people down hard because I ain't working for small pay. And some of those deals might have been $20,000 or $30,000 licks. But when I had to do all this work, I went back to the owners and said, you need to do all this work. I'm not doing it all. And they said, I'm not doing it. I say, fine, then I'm only going to give you 20 grand instead of 90. And they agreed. So when that happened, I realized, okay, I can earn more money by fixing these problems instead of them fixing them. And if I don't fix them, nobody really is doing this. The stuff just sits. So I got a couple of those to go through title, but it was really tough. And I remember thinking when I was buying some of this stuff for 5 grand, 10 grand a piece, I thought, if I buy it without title insurance and can't fix the problems that I think I am, who really cares? It's 5 or 10 grand. It ain't going to bankrupt me, but I stand to make 100 grand on this deal. Well, let me go ahead and close this person out and buy their share and not have to solve this the way title does. Let me solve it my way. And I bet title will insure it when it shows up on their doorstep. And my way to solve it was faster and easier than solving it through title. Here's an example. Title demands you provide all these death certificates to all these dead people. If I buy it without title insurance, I'm relying on the affiants who signed the affidavit of heirship or the probate court to prove up the death of those people, not going to drag their death certificates out. And I've had files that have 20 dead people. Getting 20 death certificates from vital statistics is a freaking nightmare. If I can prove up with good genealogy and vital statistics data that these people are in fact dead and they died at a certain time and we find their headstone, I don't have to go get a death certificate. So let me clear it up my way. It's faster and easier, and I got the extreme discount. Then I'll go run it through title and sell it and get the money when I fix what I'm supposed to fix. So I see that as low risk because I understand the process.
And that's okay. So my here's my epiphany I had in Austin. So my epiphany I had in Austin was that sums up right there. If you understand the risk of buying outside of title, you actually understand the exit and everything that comes with it when you buy outside of title. And I never bought a deal outside of title to that Austin event. And I've since bought 3 properties outside of title since then. And I'm just like, I'm not paying. I bought a deal like soon after, right out inside title, and I got hit with like $3,000 in fees between title commitment, and it was a smaller deal, like 15,000. And I'm just like, this is stupid. I'm like, I know, like I get it now. After kind of hitting that low barrier, like BS lawyer fees, and I was like, man, that's just bought this thing outside of title and would have been done with it.
So that shows another skill. I primarily like to do it for a leverage point, and I like to do it for I can solve my problems easier and get better deals. But in your case, if you're doing a $15,000 deal, the title fees alone can really hurt your margin.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable buying without it, dude, you restore a huge margin and you can make way more on a $15,000 or $20,000 deal than most people. That works great for small land deals.
Yeah, and I learned that on that one, and I told I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm just going to buy outside of title. So I bought a deal in New York outside of title, and I bought a deal outside of Houston outside of title.
Nice. So it's interesting. You took it and applied it slightly differently, but it was still a money-making event for you.
And that's the thing. Like after I had that barrier where I could not get past buying without title insurance. I couldn't get past it. I didn't understand it. And I was personally stuck there in that mindset. And that was for years. So I've known what we've done for years. And it's just, I couldn't get past that.
You know what I'll tell you? If you're not doing a ton of curative work when you buy, if you're just doing it to save some money, what you can do is have the title company run a TBD title commitment for you, and they'll do it and produce it. And you look at it and say, okay, title is clear. I'm not going to close through title. I'm just going to close on my own. But when you go back to sell the property, go back through that title company. So they get paid for the work they did, but you only pay them once when you sell it instead of twice.
One thing I've gotten better is doing my own title research.
Oh yeah, you have to. In that case, you have to.
I feel like a paralegal at this point because I've gotten so good at it. It's like eerily scary from when I first started to what I do now. I'm just like, man. And it was another thing that it's in your event in Austin was that you're buying deeds in 24 to 48 hours, and I was like, that's insane. Like I was stuck there too, right? Literally.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I bought. Okay, I have a story with this. So I bought a house in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
The lead came in I want to say it was like November, and she wanted like 48.5, right? So we contracted it in January. Contacted in January. She actually had a squatter there, and trying to make sure I don't fumble this. She had a squatter there. So when we went to close through title, she's like, I had a hard money lender. I was going to use local hard money lender out of, you know who it is. I can't think of his name right now. I'm struggling with names this morning. You know why? But I was going to use local hard money lender, but they needed to send somebody to do an inspection. So when they went to do the inspection, squatter was there. Essentially kicked him out. Whatever, they were fighting him on the thing. So I'm like, okay. I told the seller ghosted me. I'm like, man, this is back in January. So we go to the in February, and I'm like, we should just buy this outside of title. So we ended up going back to her, and we followed up with her. She ghosted us for a little bit. We got a hold of her back in June, which is 2 months ago, and we offered her $30,000 with $5K down, just buying the deed flat out. And that's when they're doing it. So we got a $20K discount, bought the deed flat out. We were negotiating with her like it was like 10, 11 p.m. Central Time. Because I'm in California, I did all the paperwork after that conversation. I have a notary dispatcher that I sent all the documents to. I completed all my documentation, sent that overnight. I woke up because I wake up late. I woke up and the documents were already done and completed in my inbox. It was like 8 hours.
Dude. So you also, if you didn't get that done quickly, this gal might have ghosted you again, probably from lifestyle problems. Yeah. And you might not be able to track her down for who knows how long again.
Yep. And it was like one of those things where I did the paperwork and I woke up and it was done.
Bam.
And I'm like, that would have been a missed opportunity. 100% missed opportunity in my previous business.
That's something that I just pester people about when we're coaching people or working with them. I tell them I would rather you go out on a limb, even if you're not perfectly sure, do the best you can to size up title work and figure out what you think you need. And I'm never encouraging people to buy extremely expensive properties anyway. It's usually lower value in the beginning. So you make a mistake, it's okay. It shouldn't bankrupt you. And I push them to do that because when you're dealing with people that have title problems, ownership issues, vacant houses, like their lifestyle is usually not like what yours or mine might be. So like you got to strike while the iron's hot, or you might not find them again for a while. I mean, that's so strange, but that's how it works.
And the other thing about that deal was the title issue. The squatter has been there for 18 months when she inherited it, filed some type of ownership claim. And I was concerned about that, but when I looked at the title chain and how she received the deed and her paperwork that she had, I was like, okay, this is easy. I didn't even question it. So yeah. It's been an interesting journey since then, and I'm trying to pick up more. But like I said, I picked up 3 deals since February.
Well, they usually have better margin, and frankly, I feel like you have, I don't know, you have more control. So this is, you know what? You'll find this fascinating. Lone Star Brewery that's been trying to be, people have been trying to develop it for 15 years in San Antonio. Are you familiar with that whole? Every 3 years, it's a new developer going to make a new project. The last developer went bankrupt, and they were going through bankruptcy proceedings. They had 2 or 3 bidders for the property in the bankruptcy proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something weird. I don't remember exactly, but the judge issued the order and he was going to allow it to be sold, but there's only a certain amount of days, and it wasn't enough to get title insurance and all this. Well, the Covey brothers have a Gray Street here, which is a pretty well-known land development group in town, and they ended up buying the property without title insurance because the other two bidders had to go back and get approval from boards and all this stuff. And these two brothers said, we'll close in 48 hours without insurance. We'll bring a cashier's check to the court. So they even did it for the same reason you did. Move fast, don't miss the opportunity, beat other people out. And they ended up getting what they believed to be a really fair deal by being willing to take that risk. So it happens in big deals too sometimes. I mean, that was multi-7-figure deal.
It's opened my eyes and perspective about a lot of things by messing with this. One thing that I've been dying to ask you this question because I've been hold on, somebody's blowing me up. I gotta handle this real quick. So one thing I've been dying to ask you this question. A lot of you talk about in the book and even in general is that you go after tax suits, and tax suits, the reason why they're there is because they're usually heir deals that pass away. I've gone through hundreds of files at this point over the last few months of tax suit files and tax foreclosure files and filings. There is talk about removing property taxes from Trump currently, and there's talk about it.
Not happening.
If it did happen, how would you find these opportunities? Because the tax suit is kind of a flag that pops up these situations. If it did happen, how would you go about finding these opportunities?
You'd have to do it differently. You'd have to look up ownership information because, like, if you were to go look at my home that I live in, for example, it would be very clear there's a deed into my name. But there's a lot of property that the last deed was transacted 60 years ago. Well, people can't even afford to buy property until they're in their 30s or 40s. So that means that person would be 100 plus? Probably not. So when you find old deeds, when you start to find tax accounts with lots of owners on it, those are other signals usually. But to the tax thing, you've got states that usually have higher sales tax and lower property tax and or state income tax. And they're usually one, it's either one or the other or two out of the three. And the issue is we don't have sales tax. We have sales tax, but no state income tax. And the real estate tax is where it's where they get it. So if they got rid of real estate tax, they would have to have state income tax or something, because you can't just wipe out billions of dollars a year in income and think the state's going to roll. So I don't know. I don't see that happening, man. I really don't. Revenue would have to come from another place. And the other thing too is I don't see Trump if Trump made such a monumental move like that, I'd be shocked if he could make it that quickly. But I don't know. What are they going to do? Zero out the accounts? This guy owed $100,000 on his taxes and he was unpaid. And this guy owed nothing because he'd been paying his taxes. You're just going to balance them all out, wipe them out to zero? How's that work?
I've seen, after going through so many files, I've seen I've like after seeing so many files and kind of like painting a picture, you can kind of like piece together what happened pretty quickly, just by looking at the tax suit information, and it's really been eye opening on like issues that arise on the back end that most people don't even know exist.
That's right. You're absolutely right. When folks don't handle business, so let's say you're like a property owner that goes buys a house in a new subdivision with your wife and your kids, and that's the thing you're doing. That person is typically paying their bills. They're not fighting with contractors. They're not having to go to probate courts because of like legal matters and family situations. That thing would have clear title and unencumbered and all that kind of stuff. But when you have property that is vacant or inherited with lots of owners, imagine they're not paying their bills. One of them gets a judgment or lien against him. It really attaches to that property when you try to get title insurance, even though it's indexed to the person. You gotta satisfy it to sell the property. So when you have a big group of dysfunctionality, all of their personal problems roll into this real estate too. So that's why they just compound.
So I have a very dysfunctional deal, and it's very similar to one of your bigger transactions.
Hmm.
I picked up there's a 44 air transaction that I'm working right now, and the
Wow.
130 acres outside of Waco, and there's one heir that owned 33% after genealogy and talking to one of the heirs. I picked it up for 13,000.
Ooh. What's it worth roughly?
1215 as is value, not ARV.
So you picked up 3 to 500 grand in equity for 13 grand.
Yeah.
You're in the money.
Yeah. So now I'm dealing with the dysfunction. So one thing I knew, and this is I hope they never watch this. One thing I knew going in is that whenever somebody's talking, you let them talk early on. So when I had a talker in the family early on, so I recorded every call. I was taking really good notes on the call, and when she found out I got picked up 33% share on the first rip, just because I needed to get my foot in, especially on the first bite. They ghosted me, so now I'm going through litigation to sue them and kind of unlock the rest. But I got a lot of the story up front just by listening and paying attention and letting people talk.
Yeah, it's shocking how many people will share a lot. And I mean, frankly, if they're not able to solve the problem and it's a train wreck, like what's it hurt? You getting involved is going to probably be the impetus to get things going.
Yeah,
So while some people may not like what you did, you took out an owner, you don't affect them. Now you're causing them to move forward and get something done, but your share doesn't affect theirs. Your share affects what you bought. Let's just work this out, people.
yeah. So
Frankly, if you just went to market with them, you still would make a lot of money.
yeah,
Let's just theoretically say that none of them wanted to sell to you, none of them wanted to play ball or be friendly, but you all said, let's just go to market and sell it, and we'll get an attorney to pay, or we'll get an attorney to do all the affidavits and the genealogy and the heirship work. Let's get that stuff done. And we'll pay the attorney at closing. Maybe we'll pay him a 20% premium because he's not getting paid up front. He's getting paid in the back end. Fine. But let's just go sell it all together. They each get top dollar. You will still do great in that situation, even if you don't fight them for a year. So there's an easy option in the beginning.
hmm, yeah,
I've never had I say never, but you rarely have a person who you approach and say, I'd like to buy it. I want to get it for a good deal because all these messes, and they say no. If I go back to them many times and say, look, let's just go to market. You own half, I own half. Let's just sell it and get paid. And we're going to market. They get access to the top dollar. They never feel like they're being taken advantage of unless they're not like crazy, like psychiatric problems or lunatics. They'll do it because they feel like they're not having to give up anything, and you caused the problems to be fixed.
yeah. I hired a genealogist for this one, and it's so sticky. The original decedent died in 1920.
Ooh, a lot of time for more babies to happen.
It is the craziest thing, and I'm like, that was my first transaction of
Wow.
doing anything, so I'm just like, I'm gonna learn a lot.
You know what? I would encourage you to think very critically throughout these steps because you might cause a ruckus with them. You might go file for a partition lawsuit. You might pay some taxes and go after them for reimbursement. There's a lot of things you could do, but those could take years. Like, I don't know what the tone is like with these folks. Are they willing to fight? Do they have the money to fight? Do they just want to cause a problem? I don't know. But if you went to them all right now and said, let's just sell together, you'd walk away with 3 to 500 grand, maybe 10, 20 grand in legal fees. You'd still make a lot. And they would probably, if they would all get on board and not be crazy and all easy to identify, they would all get their own shares. Like you could maybe be paid in 90 days from now. Chill, man.
Yeah, and that's part of the conundrum of this one is like, I do I need to find out the flavor of how everybody else is feeling, to see what we'll see what I need to do, because it's been I bought that share probably in April or March, and the one main heir is the patriarch. He ghosted me, and then I'm I'm trying to work through the rest and see where they're at, see what's kind of season you're at. But it's just been interesting. It's just been interesting dealing with. Can you share the story for people that haven't heard about your big air deal where you had 40 airs or whatever?
We've done several with a lot. The largest one we've done was around 65, give or take, owners there. There were, I would have to look, but I can generally tell you there were 3 levels of generations. I guess you could say 3 generations.
Yeah.
So it would be similar to like the last deed of transaction was like transacted was like in the 30s or 40s. And at that time, they had adult children and they had a lot of them. When you have a lot of children right off those first owners, that Heirship chart fans out quick.
Mm-hmm.
So that first generation of owners, there were like 10 children. One person, so there was a couple people alive in that generation. So they owned 10%, like 10, 10, and 10 was like a third. But outside of that, the rest of them were dead. And they had kids and grandkids. So it was a lot of people. But we did just what you said. We went to the big shares first and started contracting them. And they started this family was very amicable. They'd been dealing with this for a long time. One of the 10% owners was a monster. She tried to sell this property half a dozen times. There were half a dozen memos filed in the land records because she kept trying to sell it without the rest of the family and it never worked. So we knew she was tough. We left her towards the end. And we basically would talk to folks and they would say, yes, call my cousin, call my niece, call my aunt. I'll tell them to do this. And we just went through this chain of that. And then we verified the Heirship as we were doing it. I had one guy in the office running research and making calls and scheduling. Had a couple of guys in the field, like setting up meetings, meeting people at lawyers' office and banks with notaries and buying deeds and stuff. It was almost like a command station for a couple of weeks. We picked up, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 of those owners within the first couple of weeks. And the next several months, we had to work through the last ones, negotiate, leverage, have lawyers review documents. We ended up spending about $250,000 was our basis. 80 or 90 of that was taxes. So the remaining 150-ish is about what we paid out to all those owners collectively. We did buy 2 shares of people that were cousins to the family but didn't own any of this property. It's like they were in line. Like there's these idiots in San Antonio that are handing out money, get in line, and we gave them some money for a deed, and we were wrong.
It's the risk. It's the risk you take, but at least everybody get in line.
There were a lot of people that said, I don't even care about the property. And I said, look, I'm not going to take it for free. There needs to be considerations. It's a good transaction. I'm not taking a gift deed. Here's $500. Like our minimum spend was like $500. And we would do a lot of $500 trades like that. There were some people that were a little more gnarly and I'm not selling it for less than $5,000. I heard you gave my cousin 500. So we would just look at their share and assess a value to it. And there was a maximum amount we would be willing to pay. And there were times I paid somebody $5,000, somebody $500.
The diluted shares are crazy because my big air deal, there's 7 kids, 4 passed without children, so it's 3 lines, so 33% each. I bought the one heir of that lineage, 30%, and then there's another line that had 1 kid with 4 kids, so there's 8% each.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the 35. And we own sub 1%.
Oh God. And they're like, I want 50 grand. And you're like, dude, your share isn't even worth that.
Like, it was the funniest thing though, because I was talking to one of the 8% owners, and they were originally from the contact. They're like, "Oh, we'll give him his half acre," and I'm just laughing.
Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, there are times where but here's the kicker though, because I've been in those conversations too. What half acre do they get? Do they get a half acre at the back? Do they get a half an acre of frontage? Because that frontage is worth way more than the back.
Yeah.
When you have a tract that big, it's really hard to be equitable because you might only have 500 foot of frontage. Well, this half acre owner, why do they get 200 foot of frontage for their half acre? That's not fair. So it can be a challenge when that happens. But that might be a leverage point. If they want money and don't care about the land, you might tell them, fine, I'll give you a half acre on the back corner over here. Let's do it.
I'll get the survey. Here's your half acre.
Yeah. Now they've got to improve 700 foot of pasture to make a driveway back to that half acre, but they may not want that. They might say, forget it, I'll just take the money.
It's, I don't know. This whole thing's insane, but um, the opportunity in this niche is insanity from what I've seen. It's just finding and connecting with other people. So I have a question. So
Yeah.
finding and connecting with the right people is 90% of the battle, in my opinion. Because man, it is hard to find people.
It's a lot of work.
It is hard to find people. I was working one recently. I thought I found the right person, and she's like, my family is very dysfunctional. I'm like, how dysfunctional? She's like, we had a couple adoptions, divorces, you name it, we've had it all. And I'm just like, okay, I think you're the heir, and it ended up not being the heir at all. I'm like, this is crazy, and I'm just like, this is very, very difficult to find the right people. So, what tools and resources do you use to find the right people?
Well, the first place we go is Google. There is, and I'll tell you what you find a lot of times is obituaries have more information than you would ever imagine. So obituaries in Google, going to social media, Facebook. I noticed the users of Facebook are slightly older on average than Instagram or TikTok or any of those. So I like to go to Facebook because you can see who's liking posts and you can start to corroborate last names, and they'll tag family members and it's a Thanksgiving picture. You can piece together a lot that way. And then the next place we'll go is Ancestry.com. They've got a lot of vital statistics plugins, and they've got a lot of genealogy information already there or very close to being pieced together. Sometimes people go in and build family charts. Like there's just someone in the family that likes to do it, and they do it, and they get you way ahead of the game.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned this because one of the transactions I did, I found a family member that built out the whole family tree, and then when you already know what pieces are there, you can fill in the gaps because they don't share people that are living information.
Right.
So that saved me so much time. Ancestry.
There's an advanced Google search actually. Everyone just goes to, you type in google.com and go to the bar right there. But there's an advanced version where you can filter by so many different ways and narrow it down and get a more defined search result. That's an option that helps too. The private investigators we work with, a lot of retired FBI agents, and they've showed us so many different ways to find info. Another place, if you have access to TLO or IDI, core, things like that, those are data providers of contact information and relationships. And some of them have really good relationship trees in there too. Those are a little tough. Some of those programs are tougher to get, but they've got great info in them too.
The Ancestry has helped out a lot. So like tools you need to do this, like you have to get really good at like your own title research. You have to have attorneys on board. You have to have some type of money backing that understands the risk you're taking. And genealogy work and tools to kind of piece it all together. Is there anything else I'm missing to kind of do this at scale? And a good leader to kind of orchestrate all the shenanigans?
You really hit the big pieces. I think going through this process, asking yourself, am I picking up equity at this point? And assessing your risk along the way is a really valuable skill. To me, that's one of the more important ones, because there are people that bring us deals sometimes. They say, what do you think about this deal? I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. And they say, but it's such a good deal. Here's why. And I'm like, whoa, we see it completely differently. So I'm usually looking for, so in that vein, there are problems which exist that are the reason that these people can't sell without a person who's willing to do the work you're going to do. So that's what allows you to trade down. But you don't want the problems so great that they're unsolvable simply. Like let's just say that 40-year or 40 owner deal. Let's say some of the people lived in Spain, some of them lived in South Africa. or maybe some of them no one's heard from for 25 years. When you start having that kind of disconnection, you might not want to do it. I don't know. Sometimes, like let's say the tax bill is what we got one that we're paying for today. The tax bill is $400,000. So, and we have to pay it by 5 p.m. today. That's big. When we have a tax bill that's only 10 grand, then I'll say, just go pay it. And now we have that leverage because people owe us their share that we paid. But when you got to pay 400 grand, that's a big hurdle. So you now have to reassess this, say, how big of a share do I own or am about to own? How long is this deal going to take? I can let 10 or 13 grand ride for a long time, but letting 400 grand ride for a long time, that's a different story. So all these pieces come together to be able to assess like a risk model. And that helps you understand, is this a deal that I really should do or not? You have to kind of use all these different pieces of information to make a final decision. That's a missing piece I think a lot of people struggle with. But what we apply is common sense.
I just realized it's about to be Texas Tuesday tomorrow. So you're making the cutoff. It's a busy day for you.
Right. It's huge in our office.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize it until right now until you said that.
Mm-hmm.
There's there's something you said about in Austin that setting up payment plans so you don't have to pay the full tax up front.
Yep.
The deal I just bought in New York, they made me pay it all up front. They didn't want to work with the payment plan and nothing like that. Because I did ask, because I didn't know you could ask. I didn't even know it was an option. But for this $400,000 opportunity right now, there's no payment plan involved, or you're paying 80 grand, or what does that look like currently?
So that deal was struck off about 6 months ago. It went to auction and nobody bought it. And one of the owners had been marketed to and finally called back, and we said, oh man, this thing's been sold. But as we got to talking to him more, we started to realize that we could redeem the property since it was struck off. It wasn't sold to a person that we have to redeem it from. County. It was struck off to the county. So you don't have to pay a premium to redeem it.
Oh,
big deal. Big difference. Because if you redeem it in the first year or the first
25%, right?
Yeah, it's 25%. In the second year, it's like
50%.
Well, when you redeem it from the county, you don't pay the premium. So still, it's a lot of dollars. We can't be on a payment plan because we're redeeming it. So if we didn't redeem it, the county has gotten so much interest on it now that they would put it on their struck off list and take it back to auction. Well, we don't want to show up and bid. We'd rather take it for the tax debt plus what we agree to the owners. So we've got to contract all those owners. And then we're going to have this big event where we pay today before 5 p.m. the delinquent taxes. We use our rights and claims that we've purchased from these people to redeem. And then we do a real estate closing of all these owners.
Yeah, I didn't know about that till recently, and I did a lot of research on that. And the redeeming stuff, even if after it's sold, as long as it's not owner occupied. I learned that recently, and I was just like, man, there's so many ins and outs and ninja moves. Like I said, I haven't even been doing this long,
Yeah, that takes time. Like, I mean, I've been at it for over 10 years now. And today I don't go down rabbit holes. I've done enough of this where I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the parts of the laws that matter to these deals: the tax code, the probate code, the estates code. The property code. Those I know the parts of those codes that affect these laws, that affect these deals as much as I probably do. And every once in a while you'll find a caveat, but like the bulk of it is known over 10 years. So now when the deal comes in, you ask yourself, do we buy it from them? Do we redeem it? Do we get the county to assign the tax lien to us because the sellers can assign it to us? And if we can't finish dealing with the rest of the sellers, then we would do our own tax foreclosure. Like, there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. But it just takes time and some creativity. It is like chess a bit.
Okay, so I just saw that recently. I think I saw that Friday for the first time. Was the assignment of the tax lawsuit where it was an entity foreclosing
tax on that.
Let's talk about that, because that one I looked into that and it popped up on my thing. I'm like, what is going on? So I looked at the tax suit, and it was an LLC foreclosing through the tax suit on an individual.
So I didn't read that file, so I don't know exactly how that works. There's a lot of ways these can work. But if there's a tax, actually, there doesn't even have to be a tax lawsuit. There can be. But if a property is delinquent on taxes, a property owner can assign the tax lien from the county. It's a superior priority. They can assign the tax lien to a lender like me. I'll pay the taxes and they'll assign that lien to me and I make a loan to this person. And I have to behave exactly like the tax lien lenders do under the tax code. There's a tax code that lines out how tax lien lenders can lend and collect and all these things. I have to behave that exact way as a lender. But I now take the same superior priority as the county. If they don't pay me, I can foreclose on them. I don't usually want to do that, but sometimes I'll pay that tax lien off or that tax debt off, and now they owe me like their share that I paid on their behalf, or I can have the entire tax lien assigned to me. And if I can't solve the deal, then there are exit options.
After that, following through the process, waiting that period.
But it is judicial though, so you don't get to go and just file foreclosure like with a mortgage and foreclose, in a couple months. It's judicial. You have to file a tax lawsuit. You have to go through this process.
Yeah, that's what it was. When I looked up the deed history, they were in tax foreclosure back in 24 for like 20,000 or something like that. And then the LLC came in, got assigned the tax lawsuit, and then now with fees and stuff like that because they didn't pay, it was like 60,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is insanity. And it's just people operating in that space of the tax suit.
Well, so unless you are a certified tax lien lender and you have to go through the whole process and get certified and all that, if you're not, then you can only have, it's either 3 or 4 tax liens assigned to you a year. And you shouldn't, that person you're looking at must have been a certified tax lien lender, because the way the code is written, you have to take the tax assignment individually, like as Logan Fulmer, not as an LLC. So that must have been a registered tax lender. But you must take the assignment individually, and you can't do more than 3 or 4 a year. Otherwise, you have to go get certified as a tax lien lender and follow like the tax lien lending rules.
Is there any opportunity with that when you see that instance, or you just kind of let it go because it's too difficult?
It just depends on what you want to do for a living. There's a million ways to skin a cat, but you're trying to track down 40 people and cut deals. You ask yourself, like, what resources do I have, from financial to just knowledge to human resources? How many people can I call? How much business can I run?
So it's a totally different business in general on that side of it.
It is. We looked at all of them over the last 10 years, every single facet. We paid lawyers that used to work at tax lien lenders to come and educate us one afternoon. It was like a 6-hour session. Everything we need to know about it. They brought us pamphlets and all this so we could make the right decisions. And we ultimately decided, I don't want to become a tax lien lender, and I really don't want to fool with tax lien assignments, except for in a very rare circumstance.
So one thing I've seen looking through files, like I said, I've done this a lot recently, is they after a tax suit, after a tax lien is like $2,500, they start the tax suit after a couple of years of delinquency. They assign a investigator to do like 10 hours of research to try and find and locate the heirs. Have you tried to poach? Huh?
The ad litem attorney?
Yes. Have you tried to poach them? Because it seems like they're very good at finding people.
No, I haven't. And here's what an ad litem attorney is. It's usually an officer of the court, it's basically someone who's either trying to get some practice or keeping good with the court, and they have to be their attorneys in the local venue, and they'll basically just get on a list. And when the court wants to appoint an ad litem attorney, they'll just call the next person on the list, and they'll call them in. And it's low fees and it's capped. So they don't get to just bill their rate. They get to bill the rate that they're told, and they get a flat rate fee sometimes.
Like $500. That was nothing.
Right. So that's the point. Like if they're at their firm, they're going to bill $300, $400, $500 an hour. How many hours are they going to put into this? That's part of why tax foreclosures are so messy. Ad litem attorneys are supposed to represent the unknown heirs.
Yeah.
Once the heirs are known, they can no longer represent them because they're not unknown. But their job is to go find these people and identify them and bring them to the tax suit, or at least give the
List them
law
in rem only on the suit.
enough information to notice. So poaching, I mean, frankly, they're not like great researchers. Tax lawsuits are like so messy and dirty, and they miss people so often. And you'll find notice that is the unknown heirs of Logan Fulmer. That notice is there because the tax they believe they miss people, or they're not sure, and they want to be careful, so they'll do their final public notice to the unknown heirs of so and so.
Yeah, I've seen that. Like, I found one that did a really good job, but the other ones, like, it was definitely like shoddy
Where are the
work.
people?
Shoddy work. I don't know if you poached them before, because, like I said, you can tell ones that did their job well, and then you can tell that ones it's just unknown heirs, unknown heirs, unknown heirs. Like
That's right.
they didn't find nobody.
No, they're not paid a lot, and some of this requires like interviewing people and really digging deep. And if we're going to make 50 or 100 grand on a file, we'll do the work. If they're making 500 or 1,000, we're not doing it.
Yeah. This has been a very interesting episode. I'm glad I waited till I at least got some experience and some deals under my belt before I did this, because a lot of this was, like I said, it was newer to me, but like I said, I've learned a lot over the last couple of months just doing it, and learning about these random facets to ask better questions. So I think it's definitely been interesting. I think we went down in the weeds a little bit further than normal.
Good. Well, you should be earning good money while you're doing it, so it's a good task.
Where can people find you online? And let's talk about your book here. So people
can find me loganfulmer.com, Instagram, Facebook, all those good places.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Once you find them, you'll be seeing them a lot.
Yeah, we're working to do some pretty good ad campaigns to really get in front of people these days. So that's where our book came from. It's a fun story about, where I've come from and what the business looks like.
There you go. For everybody here, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate Logan for coming on. I think it's been a very interesting episode, so hope you all learn a lot. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Logan. Appreciate it.
Got it.